Bear crawls are foundational to developing your walking and lunging mechanics. They work your quads, your shoulders, your core. Wrapping a band around your trunk will increase shoulder and serratus anterior activation. That's the muscle alongside the ribs that pushes the scapula away, protracts. We can go forwards, we can go laterally, you can go 30 seconds each, mix between them on feel, have fun with it. Opposite arm leg pattern, try to sync up the hands and feet as best you can. Glute bridges stretch the hip flexors, activate the glutes, and strengthen the high hamstrings. You add a band around the hips, pinning it down on the ground, and now we're getting peak tension at peak contraction without overloading the spine. You also really work your rear delts and upper back muscles, putting that band hard into the ground. Notice the foot position I'm playing with, feet flat is the normal way to do it. You can go toes to the shin, off the heel to get more shin work, a little more glute. You can also go on to the toes to really stress your calves. Adding a band to the side plank gives you some tension to work up against while holding that perfect plank position as if standing on your side. You can make it more intense by adding the hip dip or the plank up component, making sure we pack that shoulder down, the support side shoulder, keep it down, let it go towards the ear, and really stress the obliques, the entire lateral core, and we're doing each side independently. You can rest, pause as needed if it gets too tough, but do the best you can to focus on range of motion and hold it out. Climbers are already a killer core and cardio exercise. Wrapping a band around your trunk will increase abs and shoulder activation. It also will make sure you don't let those hips dip too much. I like mixing tempo on this, starting really slow, focusing on range of motion, maximizing that hip flexion as I tuck the knee to the chest, then doing some fast runners as if running in a plank position. You can mix between tempos on feel, kind of freestyle it, or you can start slow the first 30 seconds or so and then go fast to finish it off. Bent over shrugs strengthen scapular retraction or pulling those shoulder blades back. Really focus on cracking it up between those blades at the top of the exercise. I like to wrap the bands around my wrist so I get a little more range of motion. And notice how I really protract and round out those shoulders at the bottom and kind of shake them out to maximize the mobility component of this as well. So contract at the top, stretch at the bottom, and I love this too because you're also not getting as much spinal stress because it's bands. It's not a dead weight as with dumbbells. Where the bent over shrugs primarily work your mid traps and a little bit of lower trap, the upright shrug is going to get the upper traps, which pull those shoulder blades up. But also, we're not just focusing on the up portion, really get that good stretch at the bottom. And you notice I'm kind of playing with the angle too, kind of a little semi bend in the hips, a kind of athletic position where the shoulders are coming a little more forward, if you will. I like to play with that angle too, and also some pure upright options. Just really maximize the stretch at the bottom and squeeze hard at the top. Overhead shrugs are the hardest option because of the mobility demands of having the arms overhead. But just like upright shrugs, we're trying to get those shoulders towards the ear. Make sure we're focusing on maintaining good core positioning, crunching the abs, pulling the ribs and shoulders down so we don't get too much extension and that low back. And you can also go with a wider grip to make it a little bit easier to maintain the position. You can make it harder by getting the hands closer over time, but this is not a speed drill, it's a range of motion drill. Come all the way up, get all the way down, stay tight. Where the previous exercises were more focused on the traps, low, mid, and upper traps, this is more about the serratus, the puncher's muscle right alongside the rib cage. The serratus anterior muscle will protract or push away those shoulder blades. Very important for all pressing and overall shoulder health and performance. Notice how I play with my position a bit too with the hand. We can go palms facing grip, we can go overhand grip, we can also add the rotational action as if punching, starting with the hammer and finishing overhand. Just really focus on pushing as far away as you can. The front raise pull apart has you isometrically hold the front raise position to keep tension on those front delts as you pull the band apart, smoking the upper mid back and rear delts. A nice little variation to mix in, and if you want to make it harder, you can just make it so with a wider foot stance, you get more tension in the band, and just focus on really pulling across the nipple line, cracking it up between those shoulder blades, and holding it at shoulder level. Don't let those arms dip. Keep tension on those delts. In general, the band pull apart is the ultimate postural correction and upper mid back exercise. You can play with a lot of different variations on this too. Hinged will make it so your arms are now involved more as you're working against gravity to lift them up, so you get dead weight of the arms plus the band tension. Upright is easier, but you also have to hold the arms at shoulder level. You can play with the grip too. Overhand will get a little more of the stability and rear delt emphasis. Going underhand will test your external rotation mobility and hit the low traps more, so mix up those options. Lateral raises hit the lateral delts, and this is the one area that doesn't get hit as much directly with shoulder training. Anterior or front shoulders get hit from presses, push-ups. Rear delts get hit by rows, pull-ups, carries. So some isolated work is key for this muscle. It also adds width to your shoulders, making your waist look smaller, looking more jacked overall. Notice I pull out to the side, and I'm keeping constant tension, not coming all the way down. And try to get your pinky up to max out medial delt activation. This is the classic front raise hitting the front delts, and you'll notice I'm really kind of staying from kind of belly button to nose here. I want to isolate that range of motion, even a little bit overhead. I like that for this particular exercise with the band tension. It's hard to do with dumbbells, but with the band, you can really focus on the mind-muscle connection. And again, constant tension. Don't worry about speed here. Just cook those muscles, connect to them, and this will really fortify the shoulders in a big way, besides making them look big from the front. The upright row is gonna work your upper traps and medial delts. This is also one of those drills where it bothers some people's shoulders with dumbbells, but it's much better with bands. The key is, notice I'm not just pulling up to chest level, I'm pulling the band apart, clearing space in the shoulder, which tends to avoid some of the impingement that can bother people that have a history of shoulder pain or just mobility restrictions. So go slow with this, and I also keep constant tension, not going all the way down. That's the benefit of the bands, easy on the joints. Bear walkouts really show out the versatility of band training. You want to wrap it around the soles of the feet and the wrists, and now as we do our walkout from the bear position to an overhead plank, or kind of like what an ab rollout would be, we're really keeping tension in the shoulders, going a step at a time. Also, don't just try to get out as far as you can overhead while keeping the abs engaged. Keep the hands as far apart as possible to maximize that shoulder activation, getting the rotator cuff and scapula working hard.